Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to make an elliptical chisel. This is a tool that is very useful for carving out air scoops on airplane models. They can also be used for cars and a lot of stuff on armor as well. But my main use has certainly been hollowing out air scoops on aircraft. What I'm using here today is a piece of insulation hanger. This is something that a lot of homeowners probably have laying around. They work fairly well, but if you don't want to use that, and they're actually kind of expensive. They're like $20 for a box of 100. You can use micro screwdrivers, like an old or cheap set of micro screwdrivers. And then you can also use, which I have a feeling most of you will probably use these, are blunt tip syringe needles. They come in a lot of different diameters, and you can buy assortments of hundreds for pretty cheap. And just because they're hollow, it does not affect their function. They still work just fine. As far as the tools I'll be using today, I'm going to be removing most of the material with a rotary tool. And then I'm going to be finishing up, in this case, with a metal file. If you do use a metal file, make sure that you get a good one. Like Feel and Baco are pretty good name brands. Here in the US, it used to be Nicholson and Simmons, but they're not so good anymore, unfortunately. If you don't have any of that, you can just use a good sharpening stone or sandpaper glued to a hard surface like metal, glass, or flat tile. It's just going to take you a while, but the final sharpening is actually going to be done on the sharpening stone and the sandpaper. Just a couple of notes before we start grinding on the rotary tool. First, none of the steel is what I would call high quality steel. So if it gets too hot, it's going to lose any hardness that you had. And with the rotary tool, that can actually happen pretty quick. And you can see here that I'm just going to keep a little bit of water nearby. And I'm going to keep my finger on the metal as I'm grinding. And before it gets hot enough to burn my skin, I'm just dipping it in the water. And I do this pretty often. And second, as far as the angle goes, it shouldn't be too fine because this metal, again, is not good quality. It's just going to bend. And I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to say it. Be careful while doing this. You don't want to catch your finger. As you can see here, I've gotten pretty close to the edge with the rotary tool. So I'm going to stop because I don't want to burn that edge. And I'm going to start with my metal file or the sandpaper or the sharpening stone. If you have access to a bench vise, like I do, it's a lot easier to file this in a vise. But I just want to give you an idea of what it looks like. If you're using a file, it's really important to keep the teeth clean, and most people use a file card, but this old machinist taught me this trick where you just take a empty bullet casing and flatten the edge, and it works really well for that. So as you progress through the file or sharpening stone, you're going to start to see this burr around the edges, and just like knife sharpening, this is exactly what you want. Here I'm making sure to get the flat part of the chisel as close to perfectly flat as I can by hand tools. This is really important for the cutting edge. And here's the tip. It's finally starting to look like an oval. We're going to start sharpening the round edge, and to do that we're just going to place it flat against the sharpening surface, whether it be the stone or the sandpaper, and twist it as we draw it across. And this is going to start to, again, sharpen the edges and remove the burr. And so here you can see that the edges are finally starting to sharpen up, and we're going to move on to finer grit sandpaper and just progress. I'm starting with, I think, 400. We're going to go all the way up to 3,000. And don't forget to sharpen the round edges as you move higher in grit. This part is completely unnecessary for you. 3000 is plenty. But if you want it to be shaving sharp, I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to this. I'm going to run it over a strop a few times. And we should be able to shave with this when it's done. And as you can see here, I'm able to cut off individual hairs with the chisel. So after all of that, we can finally use it. I'll just give you a quick demonstration. This is an old Revell B17 that I thought I was going to soup up, but never got around to. So it's important to start at kind of a high angle. You don't want to come in low. You want to take off little chunks at a time at first, unless the plastic is really soft and it allows you to do that. And then important safety note here, don't put your finger below where you're cutting, because it will go through plastic, and if it hits your finger, it's going to go deep, and it's going to hurt. So we're taking off just little chunks at a time at first. Sorry about the camera. As we're cutting, you want to twist the chisel, and so the round part should follow the outer contours of the air scoop. Now we're going to take the flat part of the chisel and hold it parallel to the body and drive it under the cut that we just made. And here's just another example on a smaller scoop. I kind of hacked at the body on this one. It was a little difficult to manipulate from behind the camera. It doesn't help that this particular chisel was a little too large for this scoop. It'd be a great situation for one of the smaller gauge needle chisels. So, that is it, guys. If you use a piece of wire like I did, you can drill a hole in a dowel and glue it in there to make a handle, or you can use plastic dip, which also works really well. That's usually what I do. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps. Y'all have a good day.